All right, another podcast from the Michigan Institute of Athletics in Brighton, Michigan. Before we get into it, we want to shout out VetLife. VetLife is a 501c3 nonprofit. It's a company created by veterans for veterans. Every veteran has faced struggles transitioning from active duty back to civilian life, and VetLife is there to make that transition easy. If you want to reach out to them, the easiest way to do so is through Instagram or Facebook, or simply go to their website at vetlifetoday.org. For more information, feel free to always reach out to me or the owner, Josh Parrish, and we'll be, quick to respond and help you out with anything that you need. So without further ado, I want to introduce Dave Pieron. We're going to do a podcast today from one of our From the Ground Up series. He's a business owner in the community, made the leap, started his own company, and I want to capture his story here. So, Dave, for the people that don't know you, did you grow up here in Michigan? And, how did you get started initially in the business world?
I grew up in Fenton, Michigan. Graduated out of Fenton High School. My family's been in construction forever. Dates back even to my parents' parents. Pretty much just been working out of this area my entire life.
So when you were first getting out of high school, you already knew you were going into the construction field, or did you think you were going to go a different route and then, the family business just kind of took over?
Yeah, so I always knew I was going to go into construction one way or the other. I didn't know exactly what it was going to be on what end or exactly, but we're into building homes, residential homes. So my dad's had a company as long as I can remember, probably. So elementary school time for me. And I always worked for him since a young kid. I always had to clean up houses and, do a bunch of punch-out type work. And I always kind of knew I was going to go that route.
So from a young age, you basically got to see the inner workings of how a construction company operates. Your dad's running the company. You're getting to see different, levels of it. And basically you're doing everything from the grunt work at the bottom level when you're young.
Exactly.
And then kind of building your way up. So did you work for your dad's company exclusively until Broadstone was created?
No. So as soon as I got my driver's license, I basically was the grunt, driving around, gopher, cleanup guy. And I worked with him all the way until I graduated out of college. Well, 2 years after I graduated out of college. I graduated 04. I worked for him for like a year, and then that's when things started getting really slow on the construction end. He wasn't doing a lot of houses. Things were starting to slow down. So at that time, we found out that it was probably best that I start doing something else. So I started framing houses. I did that for a year, and then that took us to about 2007, maybe.
So this is right before the economy took a hard downturn, but you were already kind of feeling the effects. Oh
yeah. So my dad had quit his business at that point, and he got into doing more he had bought a bar and he was running that. And I was framing houses and trying to, just kind of stay in the field. While I was framing houses, I ended up getting introduced to a builder out on the east side. And he kind of, found out my whole backstory, that I had a college degree, that I've been doing this for a long time. And he was looking for a project manager. So I ended up taking a job with him and working on the east side exclusively in Grosse Pointe through the entire downturn.
Got it. What company was this?
Michigan Home Builders.
That's cool. So basically you started, like you said, first you grew up in the environment watching your dad run the company, then you went to the grunt level of it. Now all of a sudden you're framing houses and you kind of know that level. Now you're a project manager. You're overseeing probably all the subcontractors and how this all comes together.
Right.
So then how long do you stay with that company?
I was probably 2 or 3 years, I was there, I think, and then...
This is around 2009, 2010 then?
Yeah, right around, that time, probably 10. And then I got a job offer from Healy Homes, which is out of South Lyon. and it was an opportunity for me to kind of get closer to where I'm from. Because when I took that job in Grosse Pointe, I moved. Stacy and I had just got married. We picked everything up, moved out there, and tried to make something work. Because she was having a hard time. Also, she had just graduated, trying to find work, and it was a tough time.
100%. And shout out to Stacy. Stacy, you're awesome. I hope you listen to this podcast. So you got to go where the work is. You go over to Grosse Pointe. You learn a lot there. It goes well. Yeah. Then you guys come back home. Does Stacy get into a career at this point too? What does your life look like after? Because that's right after the economic recession, right?
Right.
I remember that, like 08, 09. That was kind of a rough point for everybody.
Oh, yeah. It was really, really rough.
So she just graduated college. You guys are trying to get on track. What does life look like for the next couple of years? When does it start to look better from that point?
So it had been rough the entire time. It was rough working there. I mean, we were making ends meet, basically. She was a preschool teacher, basically, and she was doing that. That's not really what she went to school for or anything like that, but just to stay busy. And
what's her degree in?
Communications.
Oh, gotcha.
Yeah, but she ended up doing like an internship while she was in college, watching kids and the preschool at Eastern Michigan. So she's, kind of liked it, and so that's why she went into doing that when we moved out to Grosse Pointe.
It's wild how those dots kind of line up. You just, know, oh, I did this little thing here. Oh, wait a second. That's now why I'm a preschool teacher.
You're right.
It's always cool when you hear people's story to see how the dots came together to put them in there. So now, are there children in the mix at this point? Because you got a couple kids now, or this is right before the kids?
Yeah, this is before the kids. So when I got hired to work for Healy Homes, Stacy also got a job with Blue Cross Blue Shield about the same time, which worked great when we were in Grosse Pointe because the drive was only about 15 minutes. So, but we decided that it would probably be best for us to move, and then she would commute for a little bit, and we did. So we moved out to South Lyon.
And do you still live in South Lyon, right?
Yeah, I still live in South Lyon.
Awesome. So I want to talk a little bit about the entrepreneurial spirit, because at some point, and we'll get to this point of the story, but at some point you had to make that that step off the edge, or that leap of faith, or to challenge fear. I mean, you and I were talking before the podcast. There's a lot of people in life that have something that they know that they want to do. They have it in their heart. They probably have the potential, but that jump is a scary part.
Oh, yeah.
But now you grew up in an environment where you watched your father be an entrepreneur. Do you think that was really important to you making that step? Or what do you think it is about you that once we get to that point allowed you to go, you know what? I'm going to take a shot at this thing, because I'm always fascinated by those type of people, because it's a very small percent. Most people would rather take the safe route than step off the edge and go, we'll figure out what's next.
Yeah. So, while I'm doing all the project managing for everybody else, I think there was people that came into my life that noticed that I knew what I was doing. So that's kind of what gave me more of the push, like maybe I can do this on my own. I actually started a business before Broadstone Homes that I found out that the partnership wasn't good for me, and it was easier. I'll do this with a partner and this, that, and the other, and it ended up not being as good as it seemed like it would be.
Of course, it seems great because you're going, wait, he'll handle these responsibilities. But honestly, I found that when there's not like one captain of the ship, or when there's not one person that is going to make sure that things get done, it is a difficult thing to manage.
Yeah.
Because then if someone starts slacking, then it creates like this weird animosity, because you're like, hey, why are you not invested in this success as much as I am?
Right.
There almost has to be one leader, at least in my opinion.
No, I absolutely, now looking back, 100% agree. Because even when I did that, I decided, I'll go work with my dad after. And it was the same thing, a little scared to take the real jump. And even that, it was hard. There was just a lot of, it's just not working out quite how I was hoping it would,
Sure, and I just feel like people that are entrepreneurs or business owners, you almost want to take charge because you have a vision.
Right.
You know how things are supposed to look. You know the goals that you want to attain. So if all of a sudden you have someone around you that's not like pushing the same way, even if maybe they have good intentions, they think that they're driving things in the right direction.
Right.
We have a vision, right? Like as a business owner, you have a vision and you have to work towards that vision. And anything, that is not aligning with what you see in the future, all of a sudden starts to eat away at you because you go, wait a second, this isn't going to work out.
Right.
Someone once told me, it was actually Todd Spittler, had said to me that owning a business is like having a child, and you have to make sure you're dedicating and giving everything to that child to give it the right future. Otherwise, as soon as you start neglecting or not putting your energy in it or not, spending time thinking about how to make its life better, it's going to start struggling. And that kind of stuck with me. That resonated. Like, that's a good way to look about it. You have like this little baby or this little monster that's growing, and you have to, make sure you're putting your energy to it. So what company was it that you had started with that gentleman? And then how long was it before you knew, like, hey, I got to step away from this thing?
Well, it was Kensington Homes was the company, and I knew really quick. Like within months, like this is not gonna work. So, but yeah, so
So you said, hey, I'm sorry, I'm sure you have good intentions. I do too, but this is not gonna work out. I'm gonna step away.
Yeah.
You went back to your dad only to find the same thing.
Yep.
That wait a second, I can't really bring my vision to life. You're probably getting that feeling that like I said, you need to be the captain of the ship.
Right.
So you go back to your dad. What happens next? Is there stress now because it's like you tried to start Kensington Homes, it wasn't the right fit, you go back, I'm going to work alongside my father, it's not the right fit. What does that start to create?
There was I started thinking there was something wrong with me, that maybe my expectations and the way I work just doesn't work. Maybe I started questioning myself a lot. What really helped me get through it is I ended up getting a life coach that I still work with today, and I meet once a week, and we really talk things out, and that really helped me. That really is what made me do the jump, like reinforcing that everything's gonna be fine. You're fine. You're not crazy. All that kind of stuff. So
that is awesome to hear. That's something that I believe so many people could benefit from. A life coach or a mentor, or even honestly just having good dialogue on a regular basis where you can kind of lay everything from your mind out on the table and look at it and be like, oh wait, this is actually correct, this is wrong, this is bullshit that I don't have to believe, or this is an insecurity or a fear, it's not reality. Is it a local company here? Would you mind shouting them out?
Yeah, it's Lisa Regatta, and she's local. She's amazing. I mean, like I said, I see her once a week. We talk for an hour. Any kind of issues that I'm having or fears or anything, we're able to lay it all out. I can get a better understanding. I feel amazing after we have our meetings. It helps me, like now, as far as direction in the company and how I want it to go and what that looks like as far as I'm moving forward.
That's awesome, man. I found that I kind of do my own form of therapy where I at the end of every week, I have to write down everything that's in my head, and I have to put it on paper, and I have to prioritize it and figure out what's going good, what's going bad, what I need to give my energy to. And basically, you're doing the same thing just with another human being. You're sitting down and going, hey, here's exactly where I'm at. These are the struggles I'm having. This is the good. This is the positive. And she just, what she probably does is she fixes your perspective.
Exactly.
She makes you look at it correctly, because in our own minds, this can get all tangled up.
Oh, yeah.
It's intangible, right?
It's one of the hardest things to do is get out of your own head.
100%. It's like a little blender up there where it starts mixing everything together, and then, survival instincts of like fear gets thrown in.
Right.
And she's basically just saying, no, you are successful. You have a good vision. This is good. That's awesome, man. And I feel like more people would probably benefit if they were able to step into that type of like a vulnerability. Like I feel like a lot of people don't ask for help because they're like, I can do it. I'm successful.
Exactly.
Like, whereas if you just take a step back and you go, you know what, man, it would be great for me to sit down once a week with somebody, put my thoughts on paper, and like together, because you're probably solving a lot of your own problems. It's just she's helping with perspective.
Exactly. Yeah. I think when we talk it out, I'm just sitting here, blah, blah, blah. And she's shaking her head, yes. And it makes me feel better, you know? And like, there's a lot going on.
It's like a weird validation that like, I'm not crazy.
Yeah. Yeah.
There's hope in this. No, that's really cool, man. And I bet you a lot of entrepreneurs could benefit from that because
absolutely.
They're just natural visionaries.
Right.
They're natural, like, 6,000 things are going on in their head. Yeah. You just got to kind of lay it all out and figure it out. So then let's go back to the period in time. You went back with your dad. You're now going like, am I the common denominator here? Am I the problem? What's going on?
Yeah.
What does the next step look like? Is Stacy still teaching at that point, or what does life look like for you guys?
So she was with Blue Cross Blue Shield at that point. And she kept on telling me, it's not me, it's stuff around you that's going on. Very supportive, always, and still very supportive about what I got going on. And yeah, it was all about us just, making the jump,
So right after you went back to work with your dad, you made this jump.
I think I worked with him for probably a year, maybe. There was a lot of things going on outside of just the company, family type stuff, that it was just really, really hard for us to work together at that time. It just didn't work, So
Family and friends and business is a really difficult thing.
Yeah.
Because then your emotions get so tied into it that you don't look at it objectively like you should and be like, what work is being done?
Yeah.
What results are expected? Because you care about people.
Yeah.
I mean, for years, I let so many people walk all over me that were friends of mine.
Yeah.
They wouldn't pay memberships. They would make a ton of money out of the gym and not contribute anything back.
Yeah.
But emotionally, I was invested in those people.
Yeah.
So it is very hard to be able to objectively sit down with someone and look at just, work performance and things like that, if it's a family member or if it's a longtime friend.
Right.
And I get why that would be difficult. So now it seems like we somehow skipped a gap of time because originally Blue Cross Blue Shield and right after Kensington Homes, we were around the 2011, 2012 mark.
Yeah, we did skip a little bit. From Healy Homes, I went to another builder that came to me, and that was Timothy Patrick Homes. They were working in the area. They were looking for somebody. They ended up coming to me. I ended up talking to them and whatever.
Project manager again?
Yep, project manager again. I learned a ton from that company. I would probably still be working for that company today if they stayed together. I mean, it was a really good work environment. I really enjoyed what I did there. I got paid well. I mean, it would have probably, I probably wouldn't be here if that was the case. If they didn't, they had a partnership, they broke up, and then that's why I ended up starting to go.
That makes sense. So you had an awesome experience with them, and you got to see another company that operated in a way that you were like, man, this is great.
Right.
They're kicking ass. They're doing well together. It's a positive work environment.
Yeah.
This is how it should be done. Right. That company falls apart.
Right.
Now you're at that point again.
Yeah.
Now, is this around like the 2018, kind of before Broadstone, or what happens when this company falls apart? Because it sounds like everything's...
So it's probably about 2016, and then I went to Kensington for like about a year, and then
okay. So
and then my dad for about a year, and then
that fills in the gap for me. I was looking at the years and I'm going, this timeline doesn't add up, Dave.
Yeah.
Got it. So then let's talk about that moment. So you're working with your dad. But it's just the pieces aren't fitting the way that you need them to.
Right.
Do you have a conversation with Stacy first, or what does that moment look like when you decided, you know what, no more project manager, no more working for somebody, I'm going to make a run at this thing. Had you, logo design, how to manage the business, all that, all the things that were an unknown, which obviously you knew how to do all aspects of construction, but you're entering a new world now.
Right.
Let's talk a little bit about that point of life.
Okay, so, it all kind of started. Stacy was kind of behind it. Like, you need to get out. You need to start doing this. My sister can help you with marketing and all that kind of stuff, which she's been amazing. She still helps me today she's the one that had a lot to do with my logo. She's the one that does all my social media. So anything that comes out, she's behind. and I just had a lot of help from the her side of the family, especially, trying to give me, the push that I need, and that's how we got started.
So it's probably pivotal that you had the right people in your life that cared about you, that supported you, that believed in your ability to be successful,
Right.
and they helped push you off that edge.
Oh yeah, no, and that's pretty much what it was. It was a push, and then I ended up talking to Lisa around that same time, and
The pieces just
and it
came
all just
together.
kind of fell together. I had a really good relationship with a real estate agent that was all about me. Hey, I can get you some office space here. You can start, we can start some specs, and I can start listing them. We'll get, they'll sell right away. Blah blah blah. You know how all that stuff goes, and it took off right away.
Wow, that's awesome. So you didn't even have a rocky start where you didn't know if you were going to make it or not. Really, you had compiled the infrastructure that you needed to be successful. So as soon as you launched it, you had the right people, you had the right energy, and you had already I don't want to say failed, but you had watched companies that even though they were good, that came up short.
Yeah.
So you basically put all the ingredients together for the recipe, launched it. Now is Broadstone? Where's the headquarters for that?
It's right across the street from here. It's on Grand River.
That's what I thought.
Yeah.
It's
in
literally
the Remax building.
Yep.
Yeah.
I see it when I drive by it.
Yeah.
And that logo is great. I am a huge fan of like simplicity,
Yeah, me too.
but powerful.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And it's stellar. So let's talk about once you started to see it all come together, all of a sudden, you got this, all the pieces fit.
Yeah.
Life is good. You're running your own company.
Right.
It's validated all of those things in your mind where like, can I make this happen? Is this the right decision?
Right.
Talk about what your life is like now, being the guy that's running the show. And then let's talk a little bit about your goals with Broadstone. Like, because I know every business owner I've ever met, you're not satisfied with just where you're at. The point is growth.
Right.
So let's kind of talk about, what life looks like now that you are running your own company and what are the goals for Broadstone?
Okay. So, right now, we're trying to stay I'm trying to keep it as kind of custom, but I want to be able to be production. So I want people to get a custom house, but in a production type fashion, so that they're not, when you do these big production houses or custom houses, they take years sometimes to build. I want to give people basically all the good stuff in a good time frame, like a 4-month build cycle where, you're getting the things that you want. That's different than, some of those big builders out there that it's like cookie cutter, but I want to work in the same time frame that they do. And
why isn't that a common thing yet? Because I feel like as a customer, every customer would desire that. I want to have uniqueness because, like you said, cookie cutter homes are everywhere now. They're just plopping up subdivisions. Bop, 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 bop,
Right.
bop. Most people want some type of individualism in their things. They want things to be unique. But why is it right now that we can't? Why can't I come to you with a custom design and still make that quick? What makes the process so much longer?
I mean, a lot of it probably has to do with workforce. It has to do with price. And just there's a lot more planning when it's like a full custom house. When you start doing, steel everywhere or, things that are just out of the norm. And it just takes a lot of time. So I try to do the things that still appeal to the masses but are different than the cookie cutter. And keep it at a time where people can still move into this house quickly.
That would be a really good niche to get into because there's tons of production companies out there. There's tons.
And I can't compete with. I mean, those are big, high dollar guys that, they can
just
produce
churn them out.
Yeah.
100%. So a niche for you might be, hey, we can build you your custom home to your specifications or at least give you some uniqueness so that you're getting what you want.
Exactly.
But we're not going to drag it out over a 3-year process.
Yeah.
That's a great niche.
Yeah. Yeah. And then I always try to take on like 2 to 3 really custom houses a year to where I can be a big part of that house being built and be there and be present. And that's kind of what we've been doing so far.
In the current economy and the way that things are, is building an option for most people, or is it really only people that are doing, very affluent people right now? I don't know the cost of buying used versus buying new versus building your own home. How does that kind of stack up now? If someone was looking to get their home, a family say, hey, we're about to move, do we buy a new one? Do we build something? Do we go with a used home? Where does that kind of fit in the current economy that we're facing?
So a lot of it has to do with the dirt, and I think a lot of people don't really realize that with price, right? So a lot of people come to me and want to know, I would like that house that you built here. How much is it going to cost me over here? And it's not necessarily an answer that you can give that easily, because depending on lot cost, the type of soils that are there, it changes price sometimes a ton, so it's really hard, to give an idea until I know exactly what I'm doing, where I'm doing it.
Yeah, I wouldn't even have thought of that.
Yeah,
I would have thought
a lot of people,
no, I want that home built in this location. Why is it different? But as soon as you do think into it more, absolutely, the ground could be a completely different composition.
Exactly.
100%.
Municipalities, they're different pricing, different areas. I mean, it's every job is different.
It must involve a ton of juggling information and a massive network of people, because like you said, you have to build in all these different locations, and then you have all these requirements and codes and stuff that you have to meet.
Right.
Then you have to meet the customer's expectations, but you have to make a profit. You have a certain margin you have to hit. So there's a lot of juggling.
Oh,
there.
yeah.
You are a project manager still, even at the head of the company.
Yeah.
Now, do you have a project manager that works for you, or do you oversee everything and you just happen to be the owner of the company?
No, I have a project manager.
Awesome.
I have a sales manager. I have an accountant.
How many people work for Broadstone?
I have 4 people that work for me.
Awesome. What has 2020 been like for you? Because for a lot of people, this was the worst year ever, and equally, as weird as it is to say, this was the best year for a lot of people. What has 2020 been like for you?
So it started off amazing. Like I said, when my first house that I put in, we sold it before I had the basement in. So when that happened, I knew oh, this is actually going to work, and we are already starting to buy another piece of property, going to throw another spec in right away. I had ended up getting a build job off my first house that I did with Broadstone. So things were looking really, really well. And then when Corona hit, it was stop, It was tough, but you could see still that things were going to be okay, people were still out buying, people were still interested in housing. It was a totally different feel than it was in 08 or, when it was real bad. So, we ended up finishing all the houses that I had started during that time. And now it's the same thing. There's people out looking for housing, and we're starting a whole nother cycle of housing right now.
So really, there's already light at the end of the tunnel. Even through the COVID thing, it was madness. Yeah. And we're almost to the election. Thank God. Just get this thing over with.
Exactly.
I feel like every normal human being, no matter which side of the spectrum you're on, you're like, can we please just get through this date?
Yes.
What is it? 11 days away or something like that. Thank God,
the countdown, right?
Oh, my God. We're going to throw a celebration. Well, it'll be like the ball dropping on a new year.
Absolutely.
2020 has been wild. So now, Stacy still works. Does she still work with Blue Cross Blue Shield?
She still works.
You have Broadstone.
Yeah.
Everything's killing it together.
Yeah.
Man, it really is awesome. Now, if you could go back to your younger self, so I was from perspective we have now, if we could take it back, what would you say were the missing ingredients from the young Dave that might have had the dream that man, I can do this thing. I know I can do this.
Yeah.
To now, what advice would you give someone, starting out in their career that wants to start their own vision, that wants to start their own company, that wants to be a leader, that, has that entrepreneurial spirit?
Right.
What advice would you give them now that you made the jump and it worked?
Right.
You're on the other side of it. What would you say to someone that's, sitting across from you right now being like, I think I'm going to do this. I think I want to go for it.
I mean, you got to believe in yourself is the number one thing. And you got to ask questions. You got to find help. You can't be afraid to ask for help. You got to find the right people around you and that are gonna be there for you, that are in your corner. And for me, when I first started, I wish I would have started probably 5 years before I actually started. I wish I would have had that confidence in myself to go ahead and go. And that would be the biggest thing, because I mean, Broadstone would be totally different today if I would have started 5 years prior. So, you know.
It's funny how much we always go back to like just the belief in yourself and confidence. Like people are people. We're all human beings, and some people just get it in here to go, I'm able to do this.
Right.
And that's usually the thing that makes them successful.
Yeah.
It's just that it's somehow the inner workings of the mind say, you are allowed to go be this person.
Right.
And then they can step forward and do it. I think your life coach was a huge part of that.
Oh, it was,
Huge.
Very, very much so.
And your environment. You had family and stuff that supported you, that pushed you in that direction. Because I remember when I was first making the jump to start this, the influential people in my life told me, like, you're making the biggest mistake of your life.
Right.
It's not the right decision.
Yeah.
What if it doesn't work out?
Oh, yeah. That's all you hear, and that sticks with you for some reason more than anything. You know, even when you are telling yourself, like, no, it's got to work. I've played this through my head 1,000,000 times. It has to work. That always sticks with you, and it's so hard to get it out, you know, like, I'm going to be fine, you know, but it always is like, oh, what if, man, I don't want this person to be right.
100%.
You know, so.
And you just don't want to be ridiculed. You don't want to be looked at as a, you know, as a failure by society's standards.
Right.
You know, because it's weird. Someone that would take a chance to start their own business is more terrified of just being viewed as a failure, whereas we should look at those people as like, you took a chance. Even if it didn't work, you are different than the average person. You went for it.
Right.
But that's not really how society is. It's set up to be like, oh, you're starting your own business?
Yeah,
Good
you're so
luck.
stupid. You know?
Why don't you just get a job and be happy? That's always fascinated me.
Right.
And I remember being the young kid, and probably what your life coach did for you, jiu-jitsu did for me.
Yeah.
Like, I found confidence. I found belief in myself. And all of a sudden, I'm like, you know what? What you think of me doesn't actually control my future at all.
Right.
What I think of me is what matters.
Yeah.
You know, because all the people back then that told me, like, dude, you're crazy. Like, what are you going to do? You're going to be a professional fighter and coach martial arts?
Right,
like, that's going to be your job?
Yeah.
You know, all of those people now are fans of mine.
Yeah.
They're like, oh my God, you did it. Like, I mean, we talked before the podcast. We just put our 4th person to go fight for a UFC contract this season alone.
Yeah, that's amazing.
Alicia just won the world title.
Yeah, that's amazing.
So the same message that you sent, I would send to people. Man, if you are a young person with a dream, you got to learn to shut down anyone else's opinion of how that dream is going to play out.
Yeah.
You know, because honest to God, even if you go for it and it doesn't work out, you will be more proud looking back knowing that you took the chance than being the person that was always saying, what if?
Yeah, I wish I could have figured that out a lot earlier in life. I mean, I don't know if I've ever told you, but I played college baseball too.
No, I didn't know
And I feel like that almost like held me up. I was always like, oh, I'm too short. Oh, I'm not going to ever be that pro baseball player, right? But I always knew I had a lot of heart, and I usually want it more than most. So I was able to get myself to that level, play at Eastern Michigan. But I always think back, maybe there was more, because I was always telling myself, it's never going to work out anyway. And now, you know, I'm 40, and I'm like, man, maybe I could have, if I just would have taken it maybe a little bit more serious at that time.
That's huge, man. Yeah. It's basically you were your own critic that usually society is to people.
Yeah.
You're giving yourself the doorway to not be successful versus doing the opposite and saying, no, I'm going to put my nose to the grindstone here, and I'm going to be the best that I possibly can be because what if I do make it through?
Yeah, exactly.
I feel like it's just, unfortunately, a part of our society, the way that we're set up. I mean, I'm not saying that I know of any better system, but basically you get all these kids thrown together in one little environment.
Right.
You grade them on a very small spectrum of being a human being.
Right.
You tell people, like, you're a winner, you're not as good.
Yeah.
You know, like, you're not as popular as this person. And
Yeah.
then people create stories in their mind of who they are.
Yeah.
You know, and if that story is playing to you that, like, you're not good enough, try a different avenue.
Yeah.
It's going to consume.
Yeah, no, when I made it to that point playing D1, I thought that was it. That's the top. And I was okay with it, and I played, and I was pretty successful. But I feel like there could have been, more.
100%. Yeah, I had no idea you played college baseball.
Yeah.
To get into any college sport at a D1 level, you're already different than most. I mean, that's high level.
Right.
But it's like the mind has already decided for you.
Yeah.
Hey, Dave, this is your cap.
Yep.
Good run, buddy.
Yeah, that's almost exactly how my mindset was.
Me and Parisian have been talking a lot because his UFC debut is November 28th. about like reshaping his goal because his whole goal, he started with me 10 years ago. He had never played any sports. He was over 300 pounds when he came in. We had another heavyweight that was so much more naturally talented than him. They crushed him every single day. It was better than him in every aspect of the fight game. And Parisian's only goal at one point was just like, I just want to get to the UFC. Like, it'll validate all my work. But now we had to go like, wait, time out. Right. You did that. You are the only heavyweight fighter in Michigan in the UFC.
Yeah.
Now what we need to do is go, why can't you be top 10?
Yeah.
Why can't you be top 5?
Right.
Why can't you be the guy? Because if you've persevered what you've gone through already,
right,
you've outworked everyone.
Right.
You've handled every obstacle that life's thrown at you.
Right.
Why can't you be the guy that gets that world championship? Because perseverance is a quality that usually trumps most things.
Oh, yeah, it is, for sure.
You know, like, remember that old adage where they say hard work beats talent when talent doesn't work hard? Parisian is the proof in the pudding that, you know what, even if you're not as naturally gifted as this person, if you can get this thing to be right and you can have the work ethic, you'll be successful.
Yeah, I got to think, especially in the fight game, right? I mean, it's one-on-one, you know, so what's upstairs is very important.
And the mind is everything. Like, because your fear is on full response. You're about to go out and fight. You know, it, like, for Josh, millions of viewers around the world, his family is going to be tuning in, and you could get humiliated in front of these people. Not even that, you can get your ass beat. There's something about, like if you lose a baseball game, you're like, damn, my team could have played better. Fighting, it's like someone beats your ass on camera, and forever there's gonna be a video of like you being held down and just beaten up.
Right.
Dude, it's a tough thing to handle psychologically. So people that have unreal perseverance tend to rise in that. You know, like, I forget what sports coach it was. I think it was Vince Lombardi, but who basically said, like, all successful athletes have to have amnesia. They have to be able to quickly let go of the past.
Right.
Because otherwise, that you said initially, that shit sticks to you. You'll come up with, you know, someone once told you were this, or your brain was like, hey, you're a little bit too short. And then that stuff sticks. And now, you know, even though you're out there crushing it, you're playing at Eastern.
Right.
You're doing well. There's a chance you could get to the next level.
Oh, yeah.
You got your own brain being like, yeah, but look at your height.
Yeah, you're not tall enough. You know, you're not fast enough. You know, all that stuff. Yeah.
It's wild, man. So it's like we almost have to really make sure that with our families and our children and the people that we mentor, that we try to, you know, remove the illegitimate fear.
Sure.
You know, like, you should be afraid of something, like, be afraid of heroin. Okay? But don't be afraid to give your best to see where it can take you. Because that's what can make life awesome, you know?
Right.
So, man, I guess just awesome podcast with me today, Dave. Just anything else that you'd like to capture on the podcast, anything you'd want to shout out to people. I think we should give another plug to the life coach, because, I mean, it's been obviously an important person in your life that's helped you be successful. And just anything you want to capture in this glimpse in time, because most people are going to look back at 2020 and remember a nightmare. But you know what? Successful people will still find a way to make it a good year.
For sure. I definitely want to thank Lisa Regatta for helping me out and getting me to the point that I'm at today. I want to thank my wife, Stacy. She's been amazing. She's the best wife anybody could have. And all the support that I've been getting over the years.
Awesome, man. And people that are listening to this, especially young kids, like I said, with a dream, look at your environment. Look at the people that you're around. Look at the way that they're speaking to you and about you. Make sure that you're in a healthy environment, and then make sure your mind's a healthy environment. If you can figure out those things, if you can get yourself into a good place physically and mentally, the world is yours. Like, potential exists. You and I, as people that have been successful, we know that, like, man, the potential is there.
Oh, it's there.
You just got to put the pieces together correctly. So don't let people tell you you're not good enough. Don't let people tell you what your potential is. Go out there and create it. And I hope you guys enjoyed this. Again, this is the From the Ground Up series, where we're talking to successful business owners on how they made that leap. So, Dave, thanks for joining me today, and we'll wrap this up.
Thank you.